categorize people by race when they stop it, and it's a question, and so they're saying maybe we should put it on the driver's license, what race you are. It's primarily to decide whether they are racially profiling. But I wondered what the opinion of the panelists is on this particular issue.
Wow. So wait up. So it has not decided yet, ma'am, or have they decided to categorize it or no?
Two cities do, but the rest of the state does not.
She's asking whether or not it's a good idea to categorize people by race on the license.
That's not going to stop racism. That's not going to stop racial profiling. In fact, it'll probably exacerbate it even more. Also, how do you identify race? Danelle, for instance.
How do you do that?
How do you, what about people who are mixed race? We know in the US Census there's no category for African. People have to just sign black. I work with Asian populations. I will tell you, we don't categorize our populations as the feds do, as the federal government does. So we will have we'll serve anyone from, say, Turkey all the way to East Asia, China, Japan. We go up to what were the former Soviet republics. So, and we call them Asian. I have had clients who are Iraqi who will say, I'm not Asian, I'm not black, and I'm white. So what does that mean with who identifies whom as? I've had actually a friend of a friend who was a very light-skinned Indian who got stopped, and what was written was white on his, on whatever, the ticket that he got. So this was a few years ago. So I don't think that is going to change the police attitude, police racism, police brutality, not that.
What do you think?
I'm actually still shocked at the question because I didn't even know it was happening. But race does happen, and I agree with her. Putting it there, it's not going to help. It really, if they were using it for like data purposes and trying to make sure we're keeping a lot of kids out of juvie, that's different. Mm-hmm. But using it for whatever purpose, I don't think it helps anybody because we do know racism happens, and the more we keep subdividing ourselves, it just gets worse. But unfortunately, sometimes we have to be called a certain race to do to get some things. But
I mean, I think we're in this really interesting conundrum because people are like, why do people have to separate themselves? Didn't Martin Luther King said, judge by the content of the character, all of that. But I think we're getting into this point where we have to acknowledge the differences first and be honest about that, right? Before we can figure out what the commonalities are. Danelle, did you have a comment on this?
Yeah, and quickly in response, I agree with my co-panelists. I think it's a horrific idea for many reasons, but the ones outlined here are perfect for our purposes. I'm also worried that when we talk about acknowledging differences, it's I think important to reflect critically on how those differences get constituted, right? So there is this slippage, this slippage that continues to play itself out in media context, in various forms of popular and even specialized writing, according to which race is still seen as somehow unmoored or untethered to the fact of its discursive construction, the fact that race is not, it's not a biological thing so much as it is institutionally, socially, and discursively constructed. And so the act of putting race on any form of ID or any form of driver's license would appear to lend some kind of public governmental legitimation to the construction of race. And so that in itself would be, I think, deeply problematic and disturbing. But what it would also do is obscure the fact that race as an assignment of identity is something that is constructed via social relations. Yes. And that also would be bad.
And one of the examples I'll give to what Danelle said is, is in Iowa, there is a large number of Korean adoptees. Okay, this is post-Korean War. Everybody wanted to be this nice human being. Let's get the babies from that part of the world.
Which is a wonderful thing to do.
Yes, but we can have political discussions about it later. But what has happened is a lot of these children who've grown up and had their own have a difficult time identifying their race, and that's exactly what Danielle said. It's socially constructed. It's not something that you can immediately, and we can name someone else. It's how they name themselves also that is important. Just as important or even more so.
Another question, please.